So it's beautiful to be with all of you. I think some of you have been gone for a little bit and are back now. So welcome back if that's you. You always have a home here. Yeah, yeah. Okay. One of the things I'd like to speak about tonight is spiritual power and a sense of spiritual authority. Aaron asked me a couple weeks ago about this lineage. And one of the core components to this lineage was what my teacher and his teacher used to refer to as having mastery here on planet Earth, having a sense of mastery. And, I told everyone, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I never liked that word, mastery. But a different word, mastery often implies like some level of perfection. And I can just never pull anything like that off. Nowhere remotely close to perfection. But when I look at this question a little bit deeper, it's like, what do we need on the spiritual path? Of course, we need peace. And I invite you all to connect into just the quiet peace, which is always already here. Like we walk around in peace. This space of peace is always holding us. And if we don't know this, well, we're going to struggle in this world. We're going to struggle on this path. Peace is a beautiful thing because it's here and we can plug into it in any moment. And if we sit in meditation, we begin to recognize the very fabric of our being is peace. Is peace. So on the spiritual path, we need peace. Of course, we need love. We talk about love every week. But we also need some sense of power. If we don't have power in this world, well, we tend to be at the prey, at the mercy. We tend to be prey for others. We tend to be at the mercy of the great forces that rule this world. And I'm not talking about the great forces of the divine. I'm talking about the great forces of the collective unconscious and then the collective semi-conscious, which is, all the manipulation that goes on in this world. And if you live in the United States, like your mailbox is full right now of garbage, of just people, sending you these little things telling you how to vote, trying to manipulate you one way or the other. And this guy's bad or this gal's wrong or whatever it is. I don't want to get into that. This evening, I want us to really take a deep look at your sense of spiritual power and authority. And in fact, I learned something. I actually already knew this, but I learned something when I tried to have a community meeting about social media and the Sangha. And I realized just like I don't like a way of interacting where we just post something and then people come in and argue or people try to one up and play that game. Like now we're playing in silly ways with our power. But what I wanted you all to do, and which you all did amazingly well, was I wanted you all to begin to form groups and take on roles of leadership where you are sharing with each other and connecting with each other. And I want to just let everyone know, I have heard so much good, so much good. is from the connections that have been formed and people getting to know each other and sharing and the light coming together. Like if we were good Christians, we'd call this fellowship. And I want just everyone to know I'm so happy. It's a funny thing. It's like when we come together in real life, or at least on Zoom, we're communicating with each other. We're showing up with our hearts. We're seeing each other as souls. We are looking at each other as divine beings. And there might be moments when you're challenged, or, whoever's leading the group is challenged, or your inquiry partner is challenged. But the basic truth here is, since the Sangha has, moved in this way where we're starting to participate in groups with each other, is growth. But when we sit back and we just, talk at each other through some kind of message board or forum or Facebook, whatever it is, there can be a little bit of growth, a little bit of support. But normally it's, if someone posts something and then they say, hey, let's talk on Zoom. And now we're connecting to each other in a deep way. And so I just want everyone to know I've been deeply touched at the powerful meetings and exchanges and people coming into their power, people coming into their sense of authority. And I don't mean like, someone having authority over someone else, but just coming into a place of knowing what you are. And in order to sit with this question, to begin to ask this question, well, what does it mean to be spiritually empowered? Like, what does that mean? Well, it means you know who you are. And when you know who you are, you have authority, you have autonomy. You might think authority like, authority over others, but that's not what we're talking about in the spiritual realm. We're having authority over, what were the three poisons? Ignorance, right? Ignorance, aversion. I think I'm making up words. Aversion, greed, desire. We're having authority over our own confusion and the confusion of this world. And that's what it means to have spiritual authority. So you know who you are, and you know what your life is about. You know who you are and what your life is about. You know where you stand. Where you stand moment by moment. We're not in a cloud. We're not lost in some ego identity. I mean, hell, we could all be lost in an ego identity right now. We could be lost. I mean, it's a political time. I'll just say this. We could be lost in a Kamala Harris rally right now. And rah, rah, rah. We could be lost in a Trump rally. America, America, America. It's like, I have no idea what Kamala Harris stands for, by the way, but I know what Trump stands for. And it's like, rah, 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 rah. And at some point, it just begins to become nonsense. And I'm not advocating one party or the other. I just want to be crystal clear here. Do you know who you are? Do you know what you value? Do you know what your life is about? Have you investigated your values? Have you investigated them? Like deeply investigated what you believe? Have you deeply investigated what you are? And when you're willing to investigate yourself, like your sense of identity, when you're willing to investigate your beliefs, and I love this word, your, it's like your beliefs. Most of us, we are given our beliefs. And we don't even realize it. We don't realize that we are given beliefs all day long. You know, those little silly things I get in the mail, that we all get in the mail, telling you how to vote. Those are people trying to give you beliefs. Corporate media, they have an agenda. They're trying to give you beliefs. You should support this person. And the beautiful thing, that they do in this country is we have propaganda that, well, to quote one Russian dictator, is in the United States, the propaganda is very subtle. People don't realize it is propaganda. That's really well done. It's really well done. So we're given these things that fill our mind. And we think this is what we are. I am this type of person. But someone with spiritual power is willing to stop and to look at their own beliefs. Say, do I believe this thing? Like, is this the truth? Is this how the world is? This is how I was told the world is. But when you have spiritual authority, you have authority because you see clearly. Now, this time of year, I guess this time in the election cycle, most people think they know how the world is and who is wrong and who is right. And with spiritual authority, we come to a spiritual authority mostly through finding ourselves wrong much of the time. And that's a crazy thing to say out loud. Like, you come to spiritual authority through finding yourself wrong much of the time. Sometimes I'll look at something that I'm believing and I realize I'm wrong. I'm wrong. This isn't true. This isn't how things are. Life does this to us all day long. We may wake up in the morning, we may have a thought. Sometimes we just have a to-do list. I'm going to do these things today. You get about halfway through the day and you realize, oh, God's in charge. Someone in spiritual power may ask, God, what is on our list today? What do you have for me today? What do you want to show me and teach me? What do you want to dissolve within me today? So we come to a sense of spiritual authority through being empty, not through being right. Now, we come to an egoic authority through lots of training, right, in a particular subject. I have friends who studied law enforcement, and I went to, see some of their, their law enforcement classes before. I've seen them live and, seen videos of them and this and that. And, to me, it's hilarious. It's like, oh, okay, like this is the training in becoming an authority figure, becoming a policeman, And I don't mean it's funny, like they're doing anything wrong. I just think it's just like funny. Like my friend, he once was a prison guard. I don't know if many of you have a friend who's a prison guard, but I had a friend who was a prison guard once, and he had to go out to these fairgrounds and had to do an obstacle course. And my God, it's just like, I couldn't stop laughing. Like once I heard that, and just picturing my friend doing an obstacle course, he would be laughing at me if I had to do that same obstacle course, And so, if we're going to be a psychologist or, a counselor or a school teacher, whatever, we have a degree with all these letters after. That's some level of authority. We come to it through training, through filling our consciousness with something. But on the spiritual path, we come to being an authority through emptying out. Through emptying out and falling into alignment with the truth, with the truth. And I would like to say, I know the truth, but I don't think that that's like the most accurate thing. I think what is more accurate is I'm shown the truth, and then I have a choice, like we all have this choice, to fall into alignment with the truth or to resist it, or to resist it. And those who fall into alignment with the truth come into a sense of spiritual authority. Now, many of you who have come to me and said, hey, Craig, I want to host this group. If you notice, like my response has been, yes, that's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful idea. And then normally after that, you say, but I don't have any training in this. I'm not a spiritual teacher. I'm not enlightened or whatever. So, and I say, I don't care. I want you to sit down. I want you to open up. And your training will be opening to the truth and falling into alignment with it. And let's say you do that and you have a wonderful group. I'm like, that's great. And let's say you open to the truth, and then your little pesky ego comes in and says, but maybe I should say this, or maybe I should do that, and maybe I should do a little bit of this. And you follow that thread, and it will take you off somewhere. And if you're open and you follow like this little pesky truth, like maybe some of you followed that little pesky thing I said. I don't know what Kamala Harris stands for. Because every time I listen to her talk, I'm confused. I'm like, I don't know where this lady's going. But let's just say like if we just go with that, it'll send us off in a direction where we start to shut down and we feel disconnected. And so then we come back to the center and we say, okay, what's the truth? I went off on a little tangent. Can I come back to the center? Can I come back to the center? And when I come back to the center, we don't want to come back and blame ourselves or judge ourselves or start thinking what other people are thinking. We just come back to the center and we listen for the truth. Now, there's this new word, a new word in the sense that it's new since the time of the internet, that spiritual teachers started to speak about this thing, which is something that we've all done with. I think an iPod was probably maybe the first time we played with it. We started to download something. And it's a great question. This is how truth tends to come to us. It feels like something is being downloaded into us. And it's quiet. It has a sense of power. It has a sense of nobility. It has an intelligence. And if we want to be in our spiritual power, we play this game of being empty and listening to this higher force. We listen to this higher force. And we allow it to direct us. We allow it to move us. And like I was speaking a couple of weeks ago about lineage, when you open to this force, it feels like you're plugging into a great power, something much, much greater than our own sense of self. And this is what I'm inviting for each of you when you're in these groups and you're connecting with other members of the Sangha. And again, I don't care if you're leading the group or showing up to the group, speaking in the group, being silent in the group. As we sit, we plug into this power and we allow this power to direct us. So this spiritual power that I speak about requires a great humility. Great humility. In fact, if we are full of, what's the ego's form of power? False confidence, lots of thoughts, lots of ideas, lots of righteousness, arrogance. I think I know, I'm better than, I need to show them, I need to take charge. All that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff. And most people think of that as power. And I'm just over the years, I've worked with a lot of young men. And young men, often have this real question, maybe it's all people have this question. I've worked with a lot with young men, and they tell me about these figures in their life who have power and who have authority. And, excuse my language, but always the people they cite is like some jackass. I'm just like, that guy doesn't have any power. He might have followers on Instagram or whatever it is, and, but he's just an insecure person, like if you ever sat down with people in Hollywood, no offense to anyone in Hollywood, like you hang out with a bunch of actors, like a lot of them really insecure, trying to live in their mask, trying to live in their mask. And really polish up their mask, puff up their mask. I think I spoke about this in the Kundalini group. I can't remember, but I was in church the other day, and my little girl, she would, she had a part in the mass. So of course, I want to go and see her, but the whole school was there, and so I'm starting to see these teenage girls, or girls. Maybe they're not even teenagers. Maybe they're just 11, 12, and 13. I guess 13 is a teenager, but who are starting to doll themselves up, with the makeup and this and that. And, there's one person who I've just noticed in particular. It's almost like she's pushing her energy into her face. And she's like, look at me, everyone. And I can't make a pretty face because I'm a rough looking dude. But, she's got all the blush and all just the makeup on, all the stuff. I don't know what it's called, but all this stuff. I should know what it's called because I have all these girls in my house. But she's got it all dolled up. She's trying to push herself into her mask. And it screams insecurity. Now, with men, oftentimes men try to, hang out in the gym. A lot of men push themselves into their muscles. They're like, I'm big and strong, I'm the biggest gorilla, and it's just, but if you hang out with them, like these kind of guys, hang out with anyone who's putting lots of energy into their mask. If we're immature on the path, we may say, oh, they've got a great mask, they've got a great job, they've got a great following on the interweb or whatever. They got fireworks around them, and they have the microphone and they speak with some kind of confidence. They get up there and they can do a song and a dance, with confidence. And again, that takes confidence, to sing and dance. But if you hang out with them, you see, oh my gosh, great insecurity. Their whole life is based on how many people on the outside love me. Where spiritual power has to do with you, one, knowing that you are divine. Two, loving yourself. These aren't in any order. And three, being plugged into God. And plugged into God where you know that God is the truth, has the truth, is the way. Is the way. And our job, and that's what it means to be masterful. Like anytime my teacher was speaking to me about mastery, basically he was meaning, Craig, fall into alignment with grace. Fall into alignment with what life is showing you. Fall into alignment with the highest way. The highest way. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, fell into alignment with the highest way. They fell into alignment with something great. They didn't puff up and say, everybody look at me. I need you to look at me. I need followers. Said, this is the way. I'm going this way. Anyone else wants to come, you're welcome to come. This is the way I'm going because this is the truth. And I have absolute faith in this truth. It is this faith that gives you power, that creates a sense of true confidence. True confidence. It is this faith, you believing in something greater than you. And not anything greater. I'm not telling you to believe in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Because we've been through this dance so many times. So many times. Politicians don't save the world. If the world is going to be saved, it will be saved by humble people opening themselves up to the force of truth and the force of God, choosing the higher road, letting go of the lesser road. And this is the way. If we do not do this as a collective, our world will certainly end in peril. Will certainly end in peril. If we don't choose to let go of our silliness, our righteousness, our arrogance, that's what I mean by silliness, and allow ourselves to be directed. And the forces of greed or the forces of anger, the forces of control, which is forces of fear, which is essentially what's happening here on planet Earth. It's 2024 and we're still having wars. It's like, my God, what is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? We need this. Our world needs this. All of creation needs this. Not even just the human species. All species need us. Need us to come into alignment with something much, much higher. If we ask, well, what does this mean? Well, let's look. Let's all individually look. I'm going to invite us all to close our eyes right now. Just to feel into your body. Feel into your life. And from a place of humility. I'm going to invite you to look and see if you can find some places. I'm sure you can if you look hard. Some places where you are righteous, where you think you know better, and your partner, your husband, wife, your friend, your community, your mother, father, your spiritual teacher, whoever. Places where you are righteous, where you think you know better. And maybe you do, but I'm going to invite you to look, just with a very subtle form of inquiry, to look at some of the places where you are righteous, and at the same time, see if you can spot tension in your body. And this takes a mature being. First, to be able to look like, am I righteous? No, no, not me. So let's assume we all are. And then I invite you to look and see some of the places that are tense. When we have righteousness with tension, there's a good chance that we're not right, that we're not right. Now, when we have righteousness with peace, there's a good chance you are in alignment with the truth. And this is a helpful thing for us to all look at ourselves and to see what are the things that we are believing that we're holding on to tightly, intensely in our body. There's a fair chance for holding on to it with tightness and tension. If your neighbor puts up a Trump sign or a Harris sign and you're getting fired up, like, is that the truth? If your mother or your father doesn't hear you fully, or your sister, brother, whoever, they don't hear you fully, they don't see you fully, do you get tense? Do you get hurt? Do you feel shame or guilt? Do you feel like you need to make them pay? Do you want to send them an article on how to be a better parent or partner, husband, wife, whatever it is? There's this thing that happens with the truth when we open to the truth. And so if you can find that place, where possibly you're wrong, possibly you're confused, possibly you're veiled. And if we just take a deep breath and we ask the divine, and we can have a little fun with our inquiry tonight. Like, hey, God, what's the truth here? What's the truth here? What's the truth here? Let's see what comes. And if we're willing to listen to the truth, walk in the direction of the truth, adopt the truth, while we walk in the direction of what my teacher might call mastery. Now, if we ignore the truth, which is a fun game of the ego, like, no, maybe I'll just listen to that one later, later. I'm going to listen to that one later. Because if you ever notice, the ego is a great negotiator. It's like, I'll start the diet tomorrow, maybe next week. I'll quit drinking next week, just a couple more tonight, and then I'll quit next week, I'll quit next week. Let me just get through this month, and then we'll look at it next month. How about the first of the year? Let's wait till then. So the ego is always wanting to push things off in the future. And that's just one of its games. And it's a beautiful thing to notice. Like if you really just notice this, the ego is always pushing off your work or your next step. And just somewhere further down the road, somewhere in the future. But the truth is communicating to us in every moment. In every moment. Saying this is the way. When you follow the truth, your body tends to be relaxed, tends to feel relief, openness. And there's just a quiet sense of, yes, 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 this is the way. This is the way. It's simple. It's uncomplicated. Love is the way. Love is the way. Peace is the way. Kindness is the way. Willingness, understanding is the way. But if you notice, when you lie to yourself, or when you allow yourself to be lied to, and that's one of the things that happens, like if we go and we hang out with a lot of political people, we let ourselves be lied to. It's a kind of like a group righteousness. Our guy, our gal is going to lead us to the land of the free. And we've had all kinds of politicians throughout our lives. None of them have saved us. Some have had certain policies and others have had different policies. We get to argue all day about, which is better and this and that. But we're not going to go there. The truth isn't a policy. It doesn't need to be lobbied for. You don't need to sign any petitions for the truth. Just become quiet. And we open. And we listen. And we listen. And for some of us who have sneaky egos, we have to learn and discern to listen to the highest voice. Now, some of you, again, like if we go back to just speaking about groups, some of you who are leading groups, you will have noticed by now when you're speaking from the highest voice within you, there's not much debate. There's not much debate. It's really clear. You feel good. You feel true. But when we listen to these other little side voices, you start to feel as if you're on shaky ground. On shaky ground. If you're deeply honest. Now, again, we have to pick apart the ego a little bit because we all have one of these. Ego can be a complicated creature. For some of us, our ego can take us into a really familiar ground. And a familiar ground often feels true because it comes with a level of habitual safety, is what I'll call that. Like let's say every day at 5 p.m. we put on the song. Who is it? Alan Jackson. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Time to start drinking. We have a drink. If we do that every day, we'll have the sense of feeling really familiar. We'll have a pull toward it, a draw toward us, and we'll have that beer and we'll kind of just feel kind of safe. Like I know what I'm doing. I do the same thing every day. And we need to look at that and say, is this the truth? Is this real safety? Is this real safety? Or is it habitual safety, which is not really safety? It's just a replaying of the known. Sometimes the truth, actually oftentimes the truth, will take you into the unknown. But as it's guiding you into the unknown, your ego may freak out. But if you feel down through your central channel, there will be some level of peace, of calm, of nobility. And as you trust in this power will grow. And of course, the same is true with when we trust in the power of habit. Habit grows. It's how we all become addicted. We just fall prey to this false sense of soothing, whether we soothe ourselves through other people's warm bodies, or alcohol, or substance, or scrolling on Instagram, or whatever it is. And if we just take a moment and look, we can see what the truth is and what it is not. What it is and what it is not. Now, some of the people that I find the most disturbing on the spiritual path are people who are sophisticated, spiritual liars. And they lie to themselves, they lie to each other. This is the same thing with like political people. Like oftentimes political people are sophisticated liars. My party is the best. My way is the best. And this can happen in any system, or spirituality, or if we're at the university level, we're studying in some department, people surround themselves with other people who think the same ways. And we all get together and lie to each other. But if you notice, those who were enlightened, those who were awake, they were willing to look at all the places they lie to themselves. And then, of course, in turn, all the places they lie to others. And at some point they say, oh, lying is not the way. That's not the way. This is not the way. This is not the way. There's a greater way. A greater way. And if we've spent a lot of time being habitual and or lying to ourselves, or being just like, totally lost and our desires or our aversions, it could be a long, hard journey in the direction of the truth. And the journey is to pull oneself out of all of one's lies and habits that have been going on for so long. There can be this whole stage of dissolving and emptying out. And many of you actually spoke to me this week about dissolving and emptying out. And that can be a whole process. But also, like, even if we're just totally lost, like completely lost, and let's just imagine, like, let's have some fun. Let's all imagine that we're drunks and we're at the bar. Okay, again, like, let's just have some fun here. Let's have a little fun, in the spiritual world. Say we're all hanging out at the bar and we're all inebriated. Come on now. Can I get a couple smiles in the room? Like, just imagining this. We're all drunk, hanging out at the bar. And if I asked you, is this the way to live? Is this our highest truth? Even though we're all drunk, we're all going to know very clearly, no, this is not the way. We may say, man, we're having a good time tonight, but we're going to know this is not the way to live. This is not the way. This is not the way. The beautiful thing about the truth, if you just take a moment, you see it's right there. It's just right there. Even when you're drunk, I don't care what we're drunk on. We're drunk on righteousness or arrogance or alcohol, anything in between. Yes. Is this the way? Your heart of hearts will tell you what the truth is. Will tell you. Your ego might say, just one more round. Ego might say, one more round. But your heart will be like, no, this is not the way. This is not the way. This is not the way. And so then I ask you, well, what is the way? What is the way? What is your highest truth? What is wanting to come forward? What is wanting to be shared, to be expressed? What is wanting to be corrected in your life, redirected? What is wanting to fall into alignment? Now, that's my question to you. That's my question to you. So, if you like, you can put something in the chat, what your highest truth is, what's wanting to come online. And then also, I thought I'd just check in a little bit with you. I'm going to say this about, our community, about our Sangha. Since we've been doing the groups, I've only heard good things. And, if anyone wants to share some feedback about their group, if anyone wants to invite others to come to their group, if anyone has a struggle about what's going on in their group or something they want to share, please bring it forward. Okay. Kyle has his hand raised. Let's see what Kyle has to say here. If I can unmute Kyle. So Kyle, why don't you tell us all how things are going?
Yeah, I think things are going really well overall. Yeah, so on Sundays before Satsangs, I had to cancel this evening because of my dad visiting, but we have the Divine Masculine group.
Yeah.
There's four of us, and oh, it's beautiful. We start with like 10 minutes of silence, and then kind of have this agreement that we speak from presence.
Yeah.
Um, And then we, mostly talk about how what we experienced how we experienced the divine masculine that week.
Yeah. So have there been times when you did not speak from presence?
Yeah.
Okay. How's that?
Just speaking from me, like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how did you know that you weren't in presence?
It's like the clarity that is there kind of for a moment leaves.
Yeah.
There's a clear like uh, expansive awareness of like and like an intuition like, oh, this is the truth. Um and then like there's this collapse sometimes, and then you express from that collapse
Yeah.
sometimes.
And what does that collapse feel like?
Tight. It feels like I'm speaking from my own history, not from my heart.
Oh, that's really good. I'm glad you bring that up. Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah,
feels like we're speaking from our history. And that's what I was meaning by habit.
yeah.
Habit. Yeah.
And I did that today with my dad for like 30 minutes, just speaking from my history.
Yeah. What'd you tell him?
Oh, we were talking about like high school sports, like back in high school.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And see, like that happens. Like, and I can remember I was like when I was young, my parents had this business, like a family business, and I used to work for them. And I remember I went and met with this, I was delivering some like office products to somebody in an office, and the big boss man came out, and he wanted to do that same thing. He wanted to talk to me about high school football. This is a topic that I have zero knowledge on or zero interest, and I just couldn't do it. And I could see like he was this old man, and he was, he was a pretty big fella, like he was obese, and he was living through his memories of his past when he was, a big linebacker or something back in the day. And, and he just saw us as like young, high school, college age kids. And he was like, I want to talk to them about high school football. And like, I was just failing miserably. I was like, give me some of that stuff from the past, so I can have a conversation with this guy. But I had nothing for him. I had nothing for him. And, it was a struggle. But so one of the things like with our ego is like when it can reference history, and it can just like can go on and on and on. Like there's like this sense of like quiet calm within us, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I'll just plug right into this. And again, it's not a bad thing. You're just talking with your dad about, football. And if you choose that, no big deal. No big deal. But some of us, we spend our whole life in this, and that becomes a problem. And that becomes a problem. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So tell me, like when you're speaking, how do you know when you're in your power?
It's coming from deeper, a lot deeper, like actually, not just, people say, oh, it's deep, but it feels like it's either coming from my heart or from my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or
Whereas
from
if you feel
space.
into, yeah, when you feel into your history, it's like in this like memory bank, like up in the head somewhere. It feels like, okay, and you plug into it, and you can even like, I've even noticed myself, like I've been able to tell some stories where it's just like, man, that story is just like coming out of me. And it's like, is Craig even talking, or is the story just talking? It's like, what is this thing here? What is this thing? Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. So the divine masculine, like, what's the deal with the group? Is it open to anyone? You guys have it closed?
It's
Like,
moment.
is that the same as a men's group?
Yeah, it's open for men. So if you want to join, you sure can. And if you're interested in, talking about we're still in the phases of like, what is the divine masculine in a sense?
Yeah,
Like, because
yeah,
sometimes we're like, wait, like the heart chakra, is that only divine feminine? But there's still divine masculine in it too. So, um, we're still like trying to sense like what it actually is.
yeah. So listen, I encourage you to spend the whole group investigating that question. Like, what does that actually mean? What does it mean? And being willing to look at that. Like, some people would say, well, the divine masculine, that's going to be peace, it's going to be silence, it's going to be stillness, it's going to be truth. No, it's not going to have any heart in it. And it's like, well, come on now. Can't have the truth without heart. Can't have the truth without love. You can't separate those two. So that's a great question, great inquiry. Like, what does this actually mean? What does it mean? And how does it manifest? And to really play with it, like to play with masculine and to play with feminine, it's so easy to float into the realm of ego. But when you throw that word divine in front of it, it's like, no, how do I do this? Like, how do I work with this polarity or just with these energies? Because that's all masculine and feminine is. It's just an energy of something. It's like, well, what is this something? And can I keep it more in the realm of the divine something and less out of the realm of an egoic something? Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful, Kyle. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. Let me
Yeah.
ask you real quick. You have tomorrow off?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you come a little bit later, like at 9?
Yeah, I can do that. My
Or does
dad's
that
visiting,
mess with your
but
schedule?
I can come at 9. Yeah.
I'll text you afterwards. We'll sort it out, okay?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds,
All right, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out. Okay. Thank you, Kyle, for sharing.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Let me just check the chat real quick. I tell you, sometimes I get really confused when I'm pressing all these buttons here. Atticus writes, the more I open to the vast, unimaginable vistas of awareness, the more I open to my samskaras, the confusion and conflicting. Yeah. Atticus wants to come to your group, Kyle. The more I open to the vast, unimaginable vistas of awareness, the more I open to my samskaras. Yeah. So this is something that happens. This is something that happens on the path. That the more willing you are to be honest, the more willing you are to see, well, the more you're going to see. The more you're going to see. And see, Atticus is bringing up a very subtle point here. You need to have a sense of power, a sense of courage, a sense of I'm going to be a warrior if we're going to open to these questions, if we want to be free. Because the more open you are, the more you're going to see. And some people get like discouraged by this. But there comes a point where you see, all the craziness of your own mind. And at first, it's shocking to you. It's disturbing. It's like, oh my God, I have so much chaos in my psyche, so much addiction in me. I'm addicted to cookies. I'm addicted to cake. I'm addicted to Instagram. I'm addicted to, some people are addicted to satsang. They just listen to satsang all day long. And it's just like they don't live their life. We're so addicted to things. And the more you wake up, the more you start seeing, oh my God, look at me. I'm like a robot. I can remember I had a friend and she was waking up. She said, Craig, you're like a robot. You say the same things, you do the same things all day long. And I'm like, damn, I'm just a sleepwalking robot. So I look at all my sleepwalking robot behaviors. and say, oh, look at these. And then the question is, can we start to pop them? It's the clarity of mindfulness. Can we pop them, with a sweet nectar of love and compassion? And sometimes we need to pop these old habitual ways of being through using a deep sense of will. Say, no, I'm not a robot. There's something greater here. There's something greater here, and I'm choosing to step into this greater thing. Choosing to step into the greater thing. But for many of us, it can be very frightening as we first wake up. Sometimes we can just feel pummeled by, oh my God, there's so much confusion within us. But this is where we must have faith. We say, okay, there's a lot of confusion in this human psyche that I've been given. But I believe in this clarity. I believe in love. I believe in the great ones who've come before me. And they said they could do it. There's a way. And so I choose to follow this way. I choose to follow this way. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let me see what else is here. Terry writes, and every time you feel that you're in your mind making progress, you're opening to awareness more and more, then more crazy stuff shows up and you get really humbled. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's a time when, Terry, that comes when you've been humbled so much that it doesn't feel like being humbled anymore. It's just a sense of smiling, just a sense of smiling, like, oh yeah, of course, I was tripping over this. Of course I was, and it's okay. And it's okay. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep surrendering. I'm going to continue to forgive and let go. It doesn't always feel like, you know, getting beat up. It doesn't always feel like that. Tyler writes, more discipline, less sugar. Listen, and I don't mean to pick on sugar, everyone likes something a little sweet, but there's even a funny thing that happens in the brain when you give up sugar fully. You stop craving it. And then it's like, well, what is that? Like, because so many of us, like, we don't realize it, but we are so addicted to sugar. And we're always like, trying to balance our blood sugar by giving it more sugar. But if you ever get off sugar fully, like I have a friend of mine, he just told me this incredible story. His father was in Vietnam, and he was in a tank and he got blown up. Everyone in the tank got blown up. And so he hopped up out of that tank and he ran back to the base. And when he was running back to the base, he got shot. He had a story like Forrest Gump. So that's 2 Purple Hearts, by the way. So he got blown up in the tank and then he got shot. And then he ran back to the base. He patched himself up real quick. He got another tank and came out. He was ready to fight. He would come out and he wanted to go help some of his buddies, who were getting shot at. And so his second tank got shot up. So he's on 3 Purple Hearts. And so his second tank got blown up. And he hopped up out of that tank and he grabbed some of his friends who were on the field and started dragging them back. And then he got bayoneted in the back while he's running away. So I can't remember how many Purple Hearts were on. I think that's going to be 4. And so this poor fella just got so beat up from Vietnam, and he came back to the United States, and then he drank for a good part of 20 something years. And then one day his son, who's my friend, said like, hey Dad, you can't be drinking and driving my son around. That'd be his grandson. And so Dad said, okay. I guess I got to get sober. And he got sober. And then all of a sudden he realized, oh, this is what life is like without alcohol. Like, this is what it's like. And he had this whole new life, an incredible life, where he was really present with his grandson, present with his son. And I've hung out with this fellow before. Like, he's a good, solid man. And it's just amazing. It's amazing what happens when our mind is clear. When our mind is completely clear, we're not thinking about sugar or drink. We have a whole new worldview, a whole new worldview. And for some of us, our evolving edge is like, well, what would my life be like? What would my experience be like to be free of sugar? Like, what would that be like? And you might see, oh, a whole world opens up when we let go of something as silly as sugar. Something as silly as sugar. When we let go of something as silly as alcohol. The whole world can open up when we let go of something as silly as when we lie to ourselves about how the world should be. The world is how it is. It is how it is. And people are how they are. I've met, I used to do couples therapy, and a couple would come in, they might be, 20, 30 years into a relationship. The woman is still in love with the man's potential. And the guy's still in love with his mother, he thinks he's dating. It's just like, I don't know what's going on here, guys. This is all wrong. Like, this is all wrong. She's in love with his potential, and he's in love with his mother, and she's not the mother and he's not the potential. It's just like, let's come into reality. Let's come into reality, and let's just start, and let's just see, can we love each other who we are right now? Can we start with that? And some people can't. And sometimes it's like, can you love yourself right now? Can we start with that? And some people can't even start with that. They're like, no, I have to hate myself and make myself wrong for another couple of years, wean myself off this addiction. And then one day maybe I'll come into the truth. And I'll see that I'm a divine being worthy of love. And I've been lying to myself, lying to myself. This is a great question for us, a great question for us to sit with, to investigate is, how do I lie to myself? What are the ways I fool myself? We always think we're fooling others, with our grand stories, but, most of the time we're just fooling ourselves. We're fooling ourselves. Okay, let's hear from Terry.
Hi.
Hi, Terry. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I feel like I'm laughing and crying all the time.
Yeah, yeah, you must be waking up. Wow, you must be
Well,
waking.
you know, oh my God, I don't want to see this. But I do want to see this,
Yeah,
right? And so then at the end of the day, after I get over it, it's great. It's off. It's
yeah,
wonderful. It's a gift. So I just wanted to share that there's this undulation that happens, right?
yeah, yeah.
And lately, just what in the last week, something really great has finally materialized. I could feel it creeping up, like, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. I just started thinking about, well, I'm bilingual and I speak Spanish fairly fluently, although I've been out of practice because I haven't been in Spain for many years. But I speak with my mom, and I just it started coming up like, I could share this in Spanish.
You
That
could.
would be
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool.
yeah,
And that just came up, and I was like, "What? That's crazy." And then I was like, "But that's coming up, right? That's coming up. Interesting. And then this week, I mean, here and there, I would go to these Spanish spiritual groups on Twitter and kind of listen and stuff. And then I went to this space and this woman was speaking and her voice was very clear and non-dual, but in a very loving way, not in
Yeah.
the negative non-dual way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I love this woman is great.
Yeah.
She's very clear. She's awake, and I it's like your heart knows, just knows. And we started talking, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love you." Like, and she was like totally like gushing on me, and I was gushing on her, and I was just like so happy to hear the way she said it in Spanish because the language is so different.
Yeah.
Like the words for consciousness are not like English. There's more in English. There's less in Spanish. It's just consciousness. There's no word for awareness or the difference. And so you have to be more poetic and stuff. And that's really interesting. And I don't know. It's just so exciting. And then today I went to another one of her spaces and it's
I mean,
just,
Terry, this is beautiful. Listen, I work with a lot of people in Latin America, and they are begging for people, for teachers, for leaders, for hosts, for groups in this realm. They're begging for it. They're begging for it. And so, if you have this gift, to be able to speak Spanish, well, go and share and speak and connect and learn and grow. And that's the beautiful thing. Like you see, like whenever you step into another language, it's like stepping into another lens, another perspective. And you'll see it has its shadow and its shortcoming, but also it'll have some type of flavor and some juiciness and some sweetness. Like Spanish has such a sweetness to it, such a love, such a poetry, and also such a fire, and then like you start, like I've hung out with, some folks, like in like say the German realm, and it's like, okay, it's a little bit more heavy, a little bit more dense, a little bit more analytical, and then, some folks in the Russian realm, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what's going on there in Eastern Europe. And you see the brain organizes and like consciousness organizes in a different way. And of course, all beings, all cultures are hungry for the truth. And I want to be crystal clear here. I'm not saying that we have the truth and we're going to go out and save the world, but it's just no, we're going to go out and we're going to be a being of light, and we're going to see who comes forward. See who comes forward, who wants to connect. And maybe we learn something, maybe they learn something. And if we're humble, we're going to grow. If we're open, something great will come. Something great will come. And like I was, this was yesterday. I was out in the desert, and there's this little parking lot out in the desert where people pull off, and there's a big rock climbing area. And a bunch of old timers pulled off, and they were looking kind of hokey, and they all had their binoculars. They looked like bird watchers, and you know I just hopped out of the van and I started hollering at these folks. I'm like, what are you guys going to start climbing? And they looked at me and they were all kind of like shocked a little bit. And they saw us messing with them. And, I started talking to them, seeing where they're from and this and that. And then my friends, showed up, and all my friends had like, tattoos all over and weren't wearing shirts, and, looked like a bunch of lunatics. And they're like, oh my God, like you're going with those guys. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going with those guys. Like that's who I'm climbing with. But the point was like, I just got out and I started talking and connecting and had this sense of love, with these old timers, and that, they were feeling like, like almost like they shouldn't be here, like they're a little too square to be where they were at. But again, it's like you talk to people, you make them feel at home, you joke around, you connect with their hearts, and something beautiful comes. Something beautiful comes. And I'm going to invite this. Like I wish, I've got like poquito. Spanish is what I got. Well, like I open my mouth and they just laugh at me. They laugh at me. I've been laughed off the street, in San Salvador. So I've been laughed off the street in Tegucigalpa, just trying to speak Spanish. But anyways, go and share your light. Share your light. Share your light. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, Terry. And connect. And I love this because like you're going into places I never even think of going, like going on Twitter and just started connecting with people and sharing in the beauty and learning and growing. And there's been times when you said, oh, you gotten little hiccups with people. And it's like sometimes on the spiritual path, we think, oh, I'm supposed to be masterful and say everything perfectly and everything's supposed to be eloquent. It's good to go and get in a little bit of trouble and rub up against some people and see, oh, look, here's my spiritual ego. Oh, look, there's their spiritual ego. Oh, look, like we both showed up. Like a lot of times when we show up spiritually, we play those same ego games of the power dance of like, I'm supposed to know more, or I'm acting like I know more. We play that, that pecking order thing that chickens do. And it's like, am I a chicken or am I an open-hearted human being? And am I willing to grow and learn and evolve in any situation? In any situation. So Terry, thank you so much for showing up and sharing of yourself. Let me
Thank
ask
you.
you, are you doing any groups within this song or you're doing all this stuff kind of,
No,
on
I'm
your
doing it
own, huh?
on Twitter, basically, and there's a deep hunger. There's so many people
Yeah,
that are awakened,
yeah,
awakening, or you can tell they're about to pop, but they're
yeah,
really desperate looking for
yeah,
that. They want to
yeah,
hear it. They want to, when they hear it, they're
yeah,
like, what is this? I want to know
yeah,
more. And
yeah,
there's lots in both
yeah,
languages. So
yeah,
I
yeah, of
assume
course, of
it's
course.
all languages,
Yeah, of
all
course.
countries.
Of course, of course, yeah. I mean, we are hardwired for this. Like we are literally hardwired for the truth. We're hardwired for it. What's confusing is we're also hardwired to be tribal creatures and to fight with each other and to flex and so, but at some point humanity has to choose. Am I going to choose my divine wiring or am I going to choose my egoic wiring? Like, what am I going to choose? What am I going to
Yeah.
choose? Like, how am
And
I going to show up? Yeah.
I'll like present the spaces with, I'll intersperse speaking and exchanging with people
Yeah.
with minutes of silence,
Yeah.
or in the middle of a discussion space after 20-minute discussion, there might be 30-minute meditation, guided
Yeah.
meditation, and then more discussion. So
Yeah.
that what it does basically is the silences, it filters out people who only are there to show off or play
Yeah.
the ego game or
Yeah.
be political. And the people who really want that, who are there with their heart open to receive and to listen and to share from their heart, then they stay.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
mind
That
being
that's
silent.
that's so true. It's so true because like people who are truly willing to be humble and to investigate and want to be on the spiritual path, like they're no stranger to the silence. But some people show up, like you said, on the spiritual path, and they're just here with a sophisticated ego and they want to play a power game. And you'll see that, like that will come, that will come. Yeah, but you give them you give them a bunch of silence and they disappear. Disappear. That's a
Gone.
wonderful way of working a crowd, getting the troublemakers out of the room. Out of the room. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Terry. Anything else you want to share?
No, thank you so much for
Yeah,
letting
yeah.
me
So nice
share.
to have you. So nice to have you. Yeah. And I mean, let me ask you, are you sharing any of your Twitter spaces like on the Facebook page? Well, look at that face you just made.
No.
Why not? Why not? Come on, you
I
come and you tell us
honestly,
about these. You tell us.
I thought maybe I wasn't supposed to do that or whatever, but I mean, I
Well, I
will. And
mean, like, are you like are they free? Do they cost money?
No, they're totally free. Absolutely
Okay.
free.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
charge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, why not, huh?
Yeah.
Why not? It's like, listen, if you're doing something good, why don't you put it out there and people can drop in and check it out?
Okay. I mean, hey, if anyone's on Twitter and they want to come into a space and speak and share from their heart, oh
Yeah,
God, that's awesome when people
yeah,
do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Please, please. Why don't you post your link to it? However you set it up. I'm not
Okay.
so familiar with Twitter, but you know, post the links for it and how you do it and see if anyone wants to come. And then I'll ask you then the opposite. Are you going to any groups within the Sangha?
I
I mean, you definitely
at
come
the
to all
beginning I
these
signed
groups.
up for like a million groups,
Yeah.
right? And the ones I keep going back to, I tried the Tantra,
Mm-hmm.
but then it ended up being on a difficult schedule for me, so I couldn't continue that.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing Imani's
Mm-hmm.
space of
Yeah, the Reiki healing. Yeah.
Reiki,
Yeah.
and then I've been going to Sanata
Yeah.
because they're both at the same time. They just alternate weeks,
Yeah. Yeah.
and beautiful spaces.
Yeah.
Sanata's meditation space has become like a female energy space or
Yeah.
a female
Yeah. Good.
principle and meditation. And that is a beautiful space. And then the Reiki energy space, of
Yeah.
course. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
And then if
that
you're showing up to
entails
three
no
groups,
doing on anyone's part. You just have to sit there and
yeah, you
receive.
you sit and you receive. Yeah, you sit and you receive. Yeah. Yeah. Well, beautiful.
And once in a while, when I can, I go to Kyle. Kyle's guru group. I think it's Kyle or is it Tyler? I can't remember, but
Kyle. Yeah. Yeah.
the guru group
Yeah.
whenever I can manage it
Yeah.
because it's a little late at night and my husband is like real possessive of my time.
He's like, what
When
are
he
you doing
gets
with
home,
going
he's
to
like,
all these
"Where
damn
are you on
spiritual
another
groups?
space? What, get off of Twitter, spend some time with me."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, let's do that too. Let's honor him too. Let's honor him
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
From the
So
heart. From the heart.
so if he's busy playing his guitar and stuff, then I
Yeah.
can go to the guru group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Well, good. Well, good. Well, sounds like you're well connected. You're well connected. So, well, beautiful. Well, beautiful. Thanks, Terry, for sharing. And thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. So much love to all of you. And I'll see y'all soon. Okay. Good night, everyone. See you soon.